been, okay. Okay. But I'm just talking.
I know, but it's interesting.
I know.
Sometimes you're just talking, I'm thinking, this is really interesting, and I'm impressed because I missed the beginning of it.
Okay.
So, okay.
So when I was still living in Manchester, I had this dream to move to the country. I wanted to go to Anglesey, and I was still working as a social worker for Trafford Council. And as each kind of week went on, I was getting more and more burnt out and very, very sick, really. So I started to write down all the things that I wanted for this imaginary small holding that I was going to move to, because I've got this. Yeah, I was creating, I was manifesting, and I said I wanted a water source, and I wanted a river that kind of like was at the end of the land. And when we arrived here to kind of view the property, I wasn't interested in the house. I was interested in the land, and it was just a big sheep field. There was no trees on it, but I was following my senses. And I was walking down here, and the estate agent was getting quite, annoyed because he wanted to show me the house, and I was like, no, I'm on a mission. And I walked down here and I said, I can smell water. And then I came down and I saw this. So this is the River Dronwy, and we actually have fishing rights apparently because it's on the end of our land. And when it's not so deep or muddy, because obviously it's been raining heavily, there's an old clapper bridge under here, which is huge pieces of slate, which created a bridge. And people used to come through our land, they would harvest water from our well, and then they would go across the clapper bridge in carts, apparently pulled by oxen, and they were heading to that church there. So it was en route to the church. And some people say that churches were built on sacred ground. And if we follow that church on the Ordnance Survey map backwards, it goes to another church. So they actually say this church and that church has caused what we call an old ley line. And the fact that there's an old well that sits right on the ley line, apparently it's quite sacred land. But I mean, I kind of knew that anyway. So what I love about this plant, this is the bramble, the blackberry, and it's not just those delicious vitamin C filled kind of delicious fruits. She also has these incredible vines, and she uses trees to kind of scramble up, and she's very, very good at what we call connecting one tree to another. So she's quite a connective tree. But what I like to do with them is when they're literally as long as this, and this will probably be about 3 meters in length if we were to trace it back, we can actually use her for making baskets with. So weaving baskets with her vines. So we would literally take off her spikes by using a piece of leather or a piece of denim, running back so you get rid of all of the spikes, and then we gather them up like this and then keep them until they're dry, and then we can then use them later on in the year. So she's an absolutely fantastic plant. And yeah, and she gets our attention, doesn't she? That's how she gets our attention. When you're walking past, often my beautiful dresses, especially this one my daughter bought me, I'll have a bramble attached to it when I get home. That's how she gets our attention, and it's because she has thorns, and thorns are major medicine. Anything that stings, like a nettle, which is full of nitrogen, full of iron, full of so many different things. Thorn, it's thorn medicine. She's going to have a lot of medicine inside her. Really beautiful plant. So never underestimate a bramble. She does so many things. from tea to fruit to making baskets with. Cool. Let's head down to one of my other favourite trees. All the trees are favourite to me. So I always say this is another favourite tree, but they're all favourites. But I just want to show you this one. So this is the little crabapple. This one here, if you just pan around, you can actually see all of her fruits. So she's doing well for fruits this year. Now the crabapple is very, very special. So she is the grandmother of all of those delicious apples that you find in the supermarket. This is how she started off. And then through time, she may have been a little bit bigger, a little bit sweeter, and that's how we've cultivated our sweet apples from. They come from this little gem called the crabapple. Crab meaning crabby, tasting quite astringent. But the thing about apples is that, you know, there's lots of stories about apples. She's very, very high in malic acid, so very, very medicinal. Apple a day keeps the doctor away is actually a Welsh saying from Pembrokeshire. Apple a day keeps the doctor away, or our saying, an apple before bed keeps the doctor from earning his bread. So yeah, literally an apple a day will ward off any kind of nasty diseases and keep you really, really healthy. But she's also quite dark as well, so we would use her fruit in what we call dumb suppers. And dumb suppers, although it's quite a controversial name, dumb meaning not to speak, I can't speak, we use them in ceremonies at Halloween or Samhain, and we would set out a table for our departed, our lovely old ancestors, keeping one space clear for them, and we would sit around the table eating our lovely foraged food or our foraged meals. And crab apples would be very significant in the dumb suppers. They would be in the middle of the table, either in the form of a delicious sauce or in stews and things, or in crabapple jelly or wines, but she would be quite significant in a dumb supper. And the other interesting thing about her, apart from the fact that you can make so many things with her, is that when all the trees drop, all the leaves drop from her, often what remains is these little golden jewels just hanging in the tree, and they look a little bit like Christmas baubles. So often at Christmas everything is bare, but she holds on to her fruit, which is nice. So it tells us that she has the ability to hang in there. She's a strong force. The lovely little crabapple, never underestimate her either. Oh, watch this. So we planted about 20 rowan. Rowan are very, very kind of connected to witchcraft and protection. So the actual name of rowan was connected to a Norse word, rune. That's because they used to make runes for divination from the actual rowan tree. But the other things that you can do with rowan, apart from using her for protection, we bring them inside. We can make these incredible beads with her. So we can take them off when they're still fresh, or we can let them dry a little bit, and we can actually thread them onto cotton and make what we call meditation beads or prayer beads. And we can just use them when we need to be quiet and we need to focus on something. But a very, very powerful tree. It's good to have them on boundaries as well for protection. You can make jams and jellies with them, and the Welsh make a really nice wine, which I forget the name of, but yeah, the rowan berry is used in a really nice wine recipe. So yeah, if we were to harvest a piece of her wood, always asking first, we can cut them into little discs and make them into runes that we can use for divination. I don't know if you can see up there just the way the sun catches there. Absolutely beautiful. And when we're finished with them, then the birds fly in, especially the blackbirds, and they have a party in here. and they just go mad. They go mad for them. But it's what we call, it lifts our spirits when we see things like this. So when we think about the food kingdoms that give us our nourishment, you know, we're also talking about the elemental food as well, from the moon and the sun and the wind and the rain, forest bathing, moon bathing, sunbathing, all of that elemental food. This is what we call kind of almost experiential food. It gives us deep joy when we see them, and especially when people come together as a community and want to learn about the qualities and the properties of these amazing trees. Yeah, Rowan, very, very pretty. Almost see her kind of tucked behind your ear. Okay, while we're in the woodland, I just want to show you this incredible plant here. So this is yarrow, Achillea millefonium, and it comes from the name Achilles, I suppose, the Trojan warrior, who used this to heal his soldiers. It's got incredible healing powers, so it's what we call staunching the blood. So we'd make a poultice with the leaves and with the flowers and put them into deep wounds, and it has the ability to kind of like stop the blood from flowing. So it heals up the wounds. The other good thing about it is that these flowers can be used to bring down temperatures. So great story about a herbalist once treating an old lady with a urinary tract infection who was actually appearing quite demented. So they thought that she'd actually had some kind of stroke or something, when actually all she had was a urinary tract infection. They gave her some yarrow tea and it brought the temperature down and she became lucid again. So yarrow is a very, very great healer that we find on our doorstep. So it's a doorstep medicine. And also when she grows very, very high, we can use her lovely long slender stalks as I Ching, which again, a divination to divine things for the future. Yes, it grows everywhere. It grows in meadows, but also as the sun's able to come through the canopy here, she's growing on the edge of this woodland. We can also eat her as well. She's quite pungent, tastes a little bit to me, a little bit like sage. But yeah, lovely, perfect in teas. And in fact, she's one of the 3 druid herbs that they would have put together for this incredible like a druid healing tea. So with elderflowers and with mint, it was known as a major druid preparation, the 3 together. So I like to call it angle tea, not Anglesey, but angle tea, because the 3 grow very well on the island. So this is our pond that we had dug after the sheep had left, and it actually goes up and down with the water table. The water has been quite dry the last couple of weeks, so the water's gone down. But it's got like a little standing stone in the middle that you can see when the island is being mowed down. But it's full of medicinal plants, and we've never planted anything in here. Things have just naturally arrived, which is really cool. So we just dug it, and then within a few weeks we were seeing things like water mint, reed mace, which some people call bulrush, which is wrong, but it has those kind of like what we call hot dog kind of like flower heads on them. But you can see just down in here, I'll go down and get some water mint. So again, the grandmother of all mints, this is Aquamentha. Very, very beautiful. It's got an incredible fragrance, and we can use that for medicinal properties, and makes a fantastic syrup that we can add to for cordials and things like that. The leaves are a little bit perfumey, a little bit eau de cologne, so you wouldn't really want to eat those in salads and things. But they are really, really nice in you can have them in chocolate and things like that, chocolate desserts, chocolate and mint, real kind of marriage in heaven really, isn't it? Aquamantha, lovely, really, really nice. It's growing all around here. Okay, so this beautiful shrub is a wild rose, and she's normally covered in summer in lovely little pink and white flowers. But what we're interested in at this time of the year are her rose hips. And these have been used for a very, very long time as a vitamin C medicine. She's also a plant of the heart as well. So anything that heals the physical heart can heal the emotional heart too. So if you mix these with things like hawthorn, you're going to have very, very powerful medicine. But she's also very, very, what we call very softening as well to the heart. And we give roses to people that we love. So there are very big clues there about her emotional medicine. But the rose hips we can make into some lovely rose hip jam or jellies or syrups. So in the Second World War, the government or the MOD, they were tasking the children of the country to actually go out and pick rose hips to make into syrup because we couldn't import lemons anymore. So very, very high in vitamin C, and for every pound that children picked, they were given a penny. So it's quite lucrative for some children. Penny in those days was a lot of money. It certainly bought them a lot of blackjacks, wouldn't it? But yeah, so, and also these ones we tend to use them more as kind of like for medicine rather than the other rose hips, which is the Rosa rugosa, which are a lot bigger, that we can actually peel and make into soups and things, which is quite nice. But as you can see, she's growing against the hedgerow there, which is mostly willow and crabapple, and again she's kind of using the hedgerow to kind of to hold her up, to vine up. One plant which I really adore, which is hiding in here, is this. Now most people run when they see this because it gets stuck to their clothes, and when we go indoors we're going to be finding the little seed heads all over us. So this is cleavers or goosegrass or sticky willy, or the sticky plant as some people call it, but this is our native coffee. So within these little seed heads contains natural caffeine. Okay, so used all year round, beloved by herbalists. It's actually grown on the Welsh borders to organic standard as a dietary herb. But in spring, she's one of the first plants to appear, and we can make a cold water infusion with her young leaves, and we can then drink the water the next day, and it's very, very good for what we call for detoxifying the blood after a heavy winter of eating comfort food, which is what we're supposed to be doing in winter. We're eating lovely comfort food to keep us warm, but then come spring we're springing up and we're eating the cleavers. Then as she goes through her growing cycle, her flowers become these amazing little seed heads, beloved by birds, so try and leave them on the bushes for as long as you can. Again, another vine, she vines up. As you can see, I've naturally kind of turned her into almost like a little foraging basket. Because she's sticky, she's able to stick together, and we can actually make her into a foraging basket when, not at this stage, but when, even like this, you see, we're actually creating something. When she's green, we can use her as a sieve for sieving out things like milk and things that have got dust in. That's what it would have been used by the milkmaids in the old days. But if we're out and we see a lovely stand of blackberries, we can make ourselves a little foraging basket like this to put our blackberries in. I've seen children actually put handles in them, which is really sweet. But at this stage, she's coffee. And she does do, it is a fantastic alternative because she does have caffeine in. So if you're a little bit like, with caffeine, you don't really want to have much, maybe the native one will suit you better. It's not as strong as the coffee we get from the other side of the world. So again, another of my favourites, they're all my favourites, but for a natural coffee, you know, it's a really good alternative because it contains caffeine. Wonderful plant. Serves us all year round. Also called deer medicine because deer like to have their babies in it because it takes away the smell of the afterbirth, and then the deer is very, very protected. The baby deers. It's healing. Cleavers. Yeah. Garium aparine, or is it Gallium aparine? I always get the two names mixed up.